Fred Johnson. I'm Customer Success Specialist here at CCI Learning, and today I'm going to walk you through some of our IT specialist courses, starting out with HTML and CSS, Python, Java, and JavaScript. So first step for a learner is to go to experienceed.com. Log in with their username and password. If you don't have one yet, they can click register. At this point, the user will log in. On the dashboard, they will see whatever courses their instructor has permitted for them to see or given them permissions and ability to be able to see. A couple quick points about this interface. Whatever percentage is listed here is not an indication of the learner's performance, but rather an indication of their progress. So if it says 10%, 20%, 30%, that does not mean the student is failing. That simply means they're 10, 20, 30% of the way through the course. So for those that need to have 100% on everything, you will have 100% once you get there. Next step is to click on Go to Course. From here, the learner will see the dashboard for the course. A couple quick points about the interface before we dive into the course. Some of our courses, including this one, are available in other languages. So you click on that language drop-down and see what languages are available. In this case, the course can be toggled back and forth from English to Spanish. If the course is only available in English, that will be the only option here. Each course is broken up into units. Units are broken up into lessons, and lessons are broken up into individual tasks. All of our courses are aligned to Certiport's objective domains to prepare students for the industry certification exams. So from this dashboard, a learner will click on the unit. The instructor will decide if the learner has full access to the course or if they can only access certain units at a time or within certain time frames. So I will slide over here. Also notice that there's a progress indicator for each unit. When you open up the unit, I'll go to Unit 2. Each lesson also has a progress indicator. So course is broken up into units. Units are broken up into lessons. Lessons are broken up into tasks. As an example, I'll slide into this lesson called Cascaded Style Sheets, or CSS. And I'm going to come in here to the internal style sheets. Click Start. The way that our courses are laid out is that each of these tasks is going to include study materials, a task, and a show solution. I'll talk a little bit about these in detail. So what the learner will see, they'll start with the study materials, which is a brief piece of text or teaching. They can switch between the eBook, which is the reading piece, a QuickDeck. These are flashcards that the learner can flip through. And then there's a QuickClip, which is a brief video about the content. This video does come fully equipped with closed captions for accessibility. And most videos are short, 1 to 2 minutes, under 5 minutes max. Quick note about these study materials is that the learner is not evaluated on these study materials, meaning that the learner can choose which one they want to go through. If they prefer to read, cool. If they prefer flashcards and they want to flip through those, cool. If they prefer the quick clip for a video, that's great. Whatever the learner's preferred learning style is available to them here. But another great feature that often goes overlooked is XED has built in the immersive reader. This is a Microsoft tool. It's not an XED tool, but it is built in to the XED platform on every page. In the upper right corner of the screen, you'll see this immersive reader icon. And upon clicking on the immersive reader, it immerses you in the reading. And some features I like to go through with teachers and students is this. Within the immersive reader, this is great for accessibility. It checks almost all those accessibility check marks. The learner will see the reading or the text in a different format that's much more accessible. The learner can then click play to listen to the text.
Internal style sheets.
They can click over here to voice settings and adjust the speed as well as the voice.
Sheets.
The learner can also come up here to text preferences and increase or decrease the size of the text, change the font, and change the theme color. Changing the background color has proven to be very beneficial for students with dyslexia. Another one of my favorite features is learning preferences. You can adjust the line focus to only see a few lines at a time. And my favorite feature is the translate option. So if the learner is not native to one of the languages the course is available in, all the languages that Microsoft supports are available here, including various dialects in some cases. So for example, you'll see that Spanish has 3 different styles: Latin America, Mexico, and Spain. Portuguese has a couple of different, as well as many other languages. So where I taught, we had a lot of learners who spoke Haitian Creole, spoke Spanish, spoke Portuguese. A learner could come in here, find their language, click document, and read and often listen to the content in their native language. So for example, if I were to switch to Portuguese, I'll use Brazilian Portuguese. I can click document and now I can read the content as well as listen
Folhas de estilo internas. Existem
the content in Portuguese or the language of my choice. And if you're trying to learn English or another language, this is a great way then to flip back and forth and start to connect the words, because often these learners will be taking the exams in English. This is completely managed by the learner, so as an instructor, I encourage you to teach your learners how to use this and how to manage this. And one mistake I see instructors make is they just show them how to use it once and forget about it. I would show my students and demonstrate this every single day, reminding them that I'm a grown man, I went to college twice, and I still use the immersive reader. Start to normalize the daily use of the immersive reader, and I saw much higher engagement. Next, I'm going to flip over from the study materials to the task. So in our HTML and CSS course, most of the tasks are going to include this input-output sort of inline editor here. And you'll see the index.html, the style, the JavaScript, and you can flip back and forth between these and run the code. So for example, this is asking me to update the code and observe the output. So it says to add an inline style to set the background color of the div HTML. If you're familiar with HTML, or if you read the study materials, you'd be familiar with what this is talking about. Now, caveat, if you get here and you have no idea what to do, maybe you're an instructor and you're not a content expert, or you're a learner and you read through the study materials, but it just didn't quite land, then you have the show solution option. And this will show the learner what they need to do to get the correct answer. Notice that this is an image, so it's not directly in copy and pastable, to help the learner get the reps and typing in that answer here in the task. Cool caveat is the instructor can turn this show solution option on and off. So for some learners, this is an extremely valuable tool, a game changer. For others, they over rely on it and they're not learning. So the instructor knows the students the best. They can turn that show solution feature on and off. Flipping back to the task, I'm going to come in here. So it's asking me to add an inline style set to the background color of the div HTML element to white by setting the style attribute to a CSS declaration that does so. Not 100% sure how to do that, so I'm going to see here in the show solution how to do so. I'm going to complete it. As soon as I type in my code in here, I'm not doing this correctly as an example, I can click run and it'll run the code, and whatever I put for here for my input, the right side of the page is going to give me my output, so I can see if this is correct or incorrect and see what changes this HTML code made on my page. And I can submit my answer, and I'll immediately be able to see if I got this correct or incorrect. I got it incorrect. So what does a learner do when they get this incorrect? Well, the instructor has control over how many retries or how many attempts each learner gets on this task. It defaults to unlimited, and the instructor can change that to 1, 2, 5, whatever number of their choice. And again, the instructor can determine if the learner can show the solution. So if I'm teaching a class with a large group of students, often what students would do if they got something wrong is they'd raise their hand and say, hey, Mr. Johnson, come here, and they want me to do it for them. In this case, I can instruct them, hey, before you come out, reach out to me, click on show solution, see what it looks like. But if I found students were abusing that and then they weren't actually learning, I can turn that off, that feature off for them, so they have to figure it out. What happens if I'm mid-task and class ends, bell rings, or it's time for bed and I need to come back to this tomorrow? Rather than having to look for where I left off yesterday, I can click on this bookmark feature, slide back to the beginning of the course where I started off, and click go to bookmark, and it's going to take me directly back to the task that I left off on. Coming back to the navigation, what learners can do at this point when they complete a task, they can retry. If enabled, they can click next to go on to the next task. This will take them to the next set of study materials where they'll learn from the ebook, the QuickDeck, and the QuickClip, and they'll move on to the new task. So it's built with small chunks with the modern learner in mind, so you're not doing long pieces of tasks, you're doing something quick, you're getting immediate feedback. The learner can navigate through the course by clicking next and previous, or by sliding over here to the navigation and clicking through the different tasks. It's very visual, so as an instructor and as a learner, you can see if the student has not started, has finished in green, or in orange says ongoing. Regardless of whether you finish the task or not, you can come back to it by clicking practice. So if you haven't done it yet, it'll say start. If you've started but you haven't finished, it'll say continue. If you finished, it'll say practice, and you can go back to it as well as see your results. All of these tasks have a similar look and feel until you get to the bottom of the lesson. At the bottom of the lesson, you'll notice practice exercises. These practice exercises are going to combine multiple tasks into one, so it's taking all the skills learned in that lesson, and now you're being asked to do multiple things instead of just one item at a time. So this is an example of one of the practice exercises. This is the next practice exercise, and then after the practice exercises, you'll see practice questions. This is more like a traditional quiz, multiple choice, fill in the blank, drag and drop, interactive video. You'll see these here, and these little dots or circles at the bottom display how many questions take place here. The practice questions and practice exercises have different parameters. The instructor can change the amount of attempts, the availability of retries, and show solution, and make those separate than whatever those parameters were for the tasks. That's one lesson at the end of the entire unit, which includes multiple lessons. The learner will see a unit summary, which simply goes over what was covered in that unit, and then the unit assessments. Unit assessment is going to include an objective assessment, which is a longer quiz style, similar style of questions, but you'll see there's many more questions because it covers the entire unit, not just the lesson. And there is a create project. So up to this point, what I've been doing within the course is I've been editing pre-made code in this case. What the create project is, I'm starting from scratch. And so it's giving me a project to complete. It's giving me some parameters for that project, and I'm going to type that code in, run it for my own testing purposes, and then click submit to get immediate feedback on my create project. This defaults to one solo attempt, but the instructor can increase attempts per their choosing. Upon completing a unit, the learner can then move on to the next unit if the instructor has made it available, and then there is a summary assessment that covers the entire course at the end. So that's the HTML and CSS course. Real quick, a couple other things on the learner side. We also have the Python course. The Python course has a very similar look and feel to the HTML and CSS, except that in this one there's actually more units. There's 12 units. The learner will click on one of the units. They'll see, again, units broken into lessons, lessons broken into tasks, and the tasks, again, have the study materials, which is going to include your eBook, your QuickDeck, and your QuickClip. 3 different methods of presenting the same material. A task, which is going to be, could be multiple choice, fill in the blank, drag and drop, or it could be one of those code building inline editors. Most of those in the Python course are going to take place in the practice exercises, but you'll see here in the practice exercises for the Python course, you have this inline editor. You're being given a task, you complete the task, and then you can submit to get your immediate feedback, correct or incorrect. So very similar look and feel for the Python course. The tasks are a little less code-based in Python, but you're still going to have that code that you type in the practice exercises. And of course, the practice questions, just like in HTML and CSS, are going to be like a traditional quiz. And then, of course, we have our Java and JavaScript courses. For the sake of time, I'll simply go into the JavaScript course and clicking on it. Once again, you can check for language availability by clicking on the language here. This one's only available in English. I'll see all the units available. I'll click on the unit to open up the course, click on the lesson, click on the task, and go through the eBook, the QuickDeck, and the QuickClip to learn, go to the task to prove my understanding, and then move my way through the course. This is the learner side of XED. Back on the dashboard for the learner, they also have a progress bar on the left side, so they can look at any of the courses they're taking and see what their current progress is, as well as see learner resources and achievements. We're working on adding badges to these courses. Next, I want to flip over to the instructor role. So I'm actually going to log out of here and flip into my instructor role. And as an instructor, I have some really cool personalization that I can do. So a couple of points that I want to show you as an instructor. One, you've got access to these really valuable instructor resources. That's on the left menu. You'll click instructor resources. You'll find your course of choice. So in this case, we're focused on IT specialist. I'm going to use HTML and CSS as the example, but the other courses follow suit. I'll download these instructor resources. Make sure to accept the terms of use. Upon downloading and accessing my instructor resources, I'll see this folder. What this folder provides me with is a syllabus that I can use for my course if I don't already have one that's editable, course description, course overview. This course overview is extremely valuable for instructors, and here's why. What you'll notice in the course overview is that it's going to display each unit, each lesson, and each lesson topic or task within the course. It's also going to provide timings. Take these with a grain of salt because every classroom is a little bit different, but at least it gives you a benchmark for the timings. And then you'll see over here OD, which refers to the objective domain. So this is where it's going to connect each of the skills you're learning in XED to the objective domains from the Certiport industry certification exam. These are going to help you out in two ways. One, it's going to let you know where each task aligns to the objective domain for Certiport. Two, if you are a Gmetrics user, you can actually create custom tests using these objective domains and give shortened versions of practice exams to your learners based on specific domains that you went over in XED, utilizing those now in your Gmetrics practice exams. You'll get one of these for each unit, and you'll be able to see the exact lessons, the objective domains, and you also see the times, not only for each task, but for each lesson, and you will see that for the entire unit when you scroll down to the bottom, how many minutes and how many hours this could take. This is also great for if you're giving credit for a certain amount of time spent learning for students. Also available in these instructor resources within each unit, you'll be provided for each lesson, you will be provided with a PowerPoint presentation. This PowerPoint presentation you can use to help instruct your students. Now, it's 2025, lecturing in front of the room is kind of out, but you can use this as a resource. Maybe you provide this to students. Maybe you turn it into a game. Maybe you're presenting a couple of slides or taking a couple of those slides and printing them out or putting them in the room in different ways. But you have these PowerPoint presentations, not for each unit, but for each lesson within each unit already provided for you. You'll also see study guides and answer keys in here. Next thing I want to point out to you is you've got reports. This is the great place where you can come in and see your student progress. You'll get different levels of reports. There's 4 or 5 reports available, and they get more detailed as you go. So you can really drill down to which students have completed which tasks and what their percentages are. It's great for the gradebook. Sliding back to the dashboard, as I'm going to create a group for students, here's some of the personalization I can do. And this is what I want to close with today, is I'm going to click the new group option to create my group. Now, if you're in high school, groups are traditionally your class periods. If you're in college, this might be a section. If you teach adults or any other style of community learning, it might be cohorts or workshop based. So here you'll put the name of the group. I taught high school, so that's what I'm most familiar with. So I'm going to use that as an example. Let's say I've got a 3rd period web design course. I'm going to name the group my specific classroom or the name of that class. Now, I can drill down even within the same physical classroom. I can have multiple groups. I'll talk more about that. I'll choose my start date as well as my end date. This just has to fall within the parameters of my license. The end date represents the last day the learner can access the course, but you will have access to the reports permanently. You'll choose your learner limit. If you're in a classroom, I always recommend going a few higher than you actually have sitting in front of you in case you get a new student. And then I'm going to choose my course. So I'm going to focus on HTML and CSS. Clicking on IT Specialist, clicking on HTML, and I'm providing this course to my students. Now is when I can personalize. So upon creating the group, it's going to come with some default parameters. Those are fine. If this is your first time using XED, you probably want to stick with those defaults just so you don't spend too much time personalizing. But as you get more time and more comfortable in the platform, you'll see you can change the weights of your activities here. So to change the weights, it's going to default up to 100%. and assign a different weight to different exercises. But if you find that there are certain exercises or certain tasks or questions that are more valuable to your classroom, you could increase or decrease the percentage toward their final grade here. A couple points about this. If you choose to do this, I encourage you to do it before students start so it doesn't negatively retroactively lower or raise their grade. Second is note that if you want to personalize or accommodate or differentiate your instruction, you can actually have different groups with different parameters within the same classroom. I'm going to slide over to lessons. This is where on those tasks I was referring to earlier, you can change the amount of attempts your learners are going to get if they can see the solution via that show solution option, and if they can retry after checking those answers. This is also where you can choose to require successful completion, and if they're going to begin with the study materials or the task. For the practice questions and practice exercises at the end of the lesson, this is where you're going to come in and choose how many attempts. It defaults to 3. Again, if they can see the solution and retry, but also gives you options for lowering their score based on getting a perfect score on their second or third attempt. The access date range will allow you to choose to make certain units available only within specific dates. So for example, if I'm giving a week to complete a lesson, these are the start and end dates of specific units that I can do. If I leave it how it is, they'll see the entire course, but here I can put basically start and end dates for specific units. If I want to remove certain activities, I can click this pencil, click the customization option, and it defaults to enable all content, but I can click customize content and check or uncheck specific units or even down to specific lessons. A lot of personalization you can do. You'd make new groups for different classes or groups or cohorts. Would love to talk more about this, so set up a time with me, grab one of our courses, and we look forward to partnering with you. Thank you for your time today. Hope you have a great day.